Wow. Okay. So I'm going to be bold enough to record this instead of just on my vocoder where you'll only be able to hear my voice, but I'm going to record this also on video so that you can see my face and also see my eyes and hear my voice and see how serious I am about this. Um, I just took my teacher certification exam. This is actually my second teacher certification exam. I took my business education 6 to 12 certification exam a few years ago, and I passed it the first time. And I was extremely excited about that because accounting and finance are very difficult subjects to show mastery in. However, because I've had so much expertise in that field over 20 years at this point, um, I was very confident going in, but I was still very nervous about taking a test um, in that area. So I was grateful that I was able to pass it, but I was disappointed thereafter because when I began to apply for teacher jobs that were related to it, there were so few vacancies, number one. And secondly, there were so few opportunities in my area. It would mean that I would have to move to find a position. And then thirdly, just making the transition from corporate America into teaching and education specifically, and not really knowing which grade level would receive the benefit from it, or the greatest advantage from it, was a little bit challenging as well. So um, my path and my plan were somewhat um, delayed. My plan was delayed. So I decided to take on a substitute role so that I could learn more about how better suited I am for certain cultures or environments, or what grade levels of children could benefit most from my contributions. And as soon as I took up that different mindset, I realized that there were certain things that I had not even taken into consideration at all that I needed to become more aware of and that I needed to incorporate into my plan. First of all, being that there are certain needs for certain children of certain ages. I take them all seriously. Even if they're primary school children, I take them very seriously because they're young people and they're small people, but they are people and they are thinking. They have their own ideas and they have their own um, concept and perception, and they have their own way of appreciating certain things. And then there are certain things that they value less than other things, and I take them seriously because they are little people who will later become big people. But you don't just discount somebody's opinion or their way of doing things just because they're small. So I value them also at the middle school age, where they are becoming prepubescent or young adolescents and are making sometimes adult decisions because they're being put in adult roles sometimes, before they're prepared in many cases. So because our world is more sped up and we are globally minded, it does challenge them anew and presents them with much more weighty obstacles than maybe we would have had to grapple with at that young age. Um, and last but certainly not least, I definitely take the high schoolers um, into great account, because it's very important that you listen to them and that they know that they are being welcome into young adulthood when they are finished with school, and that we expect for them to be contributors to our community. We want them to be excited about it, and we want them to be confident, but we don't want them to be arrogant. And there's a great difference between confidence and arrogance. We want them to be assured that they are capable of doing whatever they set their mind to. We were not just telling them that. And likewise, we want them to strive to be their best. We want them to achieve their dreams and goals in ways that will benefit all of society as well as themselves. So, yes, as I transitioned into um, middle school, more than any other capacity, I started to realize my contribution was greatest at the middle school level, because so many of my gifts pertain to people who are in that type of transition, in that type of flux, in that type of decision-making capacity, where they are coming out of being childish or immature in certain ways, but also not necessarily ready to assume adulthood in its entirety, not completely ready to assume the roles of the high schoolers, but are definitely making the decisions that will impact them later in their life. So they really are in the middle, literally in the middle, age wise, as well as decision wise, as well as educationally and academically. So a lot of my skills speak to that. And now I recognize that I really enjoy being with middle schoolers. Um, Being with the Uplift Education family has very much helped me to see that though we have different cultures on all of our campuses, it's still very beneficial to stick and stay with one